Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham Yahushai, Bahasham Recha Kodesh. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And this is the book of 2 Samuel, the 23rd chapter. As we left off in the 22nd chapter, we went through the Psalm of David, right, as thus the Lord had given him rest from all his enemies. And he basically glorified the Lord and thanking the Lord and acknowledging the deliverance that the Lord brought for him, in which we saw a lot of those parallels between that and the way the Lord is going to deliver his elect in these last days. So this is 2 Samuel 23 and 1. Now these be the last words of David. David, the son of Jesse, said, and the man who was raised up on high, the anointed of the God of Jacob, and the sweet psalmist of Israel said, the Spirit of the Lord Yahweh spake by me, and his word was in my tongue. And the God of Israel said, the rock of Israel spake to me. He that ruleth over men must be just, ruling in the fear of God. And he shall be as the light of the morning, when the sun riseth, even a morning without clouds, as the tender grass springing out of the earth by clear shining after rain. And here, basically David is saying, a ruler that rules through the fear of the Lord is likened onto, a beautiful sunrise, right? Or the clear, and life, because when you visualize verse 4, it's basically symbolizing life, right? Life springing forth, peace and tranquility and joy. And that's what it's likening. It's likening the reign of one that ruleth over men through the fear of the Lord to being. Although my house be not so with God, yet he hath made me an everlasting covenant, ordered in all things, and sure. For this is all my salvation and all my desire, although he make it not to grow. Now, this can sound a bit confusing in the Old English, so I'll read this in a more modern translation. The NIV is also good for this one. If my house were not right with God, surely he would not have made me an everlasting covenant, arranged and secured in every part. Surely he would not bring to fruition my salvation and grant me my every desire. Verse 6, but the sons of Belial shall be as all of them as thorns thrust away. See, so one that is faithful to the Lord will be established as David is, right? But the sons of Belial, right, the wicked, the low lives, they are likened unto thorns that are thrust away because they cannot be taken with hands because they're thorns. So they're gonna prick you. But the man that shall touch them must be fenced with iron and the staff of a spear. And I'll read this in another translation as well for clarity. But basically, if you're gonna take out thorns, you have tools and stuff that you're gonna use to get rid of them, and they shall be utterly burned with fire in the same place. Now he is using the reference of what you do to actual thorns, but likening the sons of Belial or the wicked or the ungodly onto that. And ultimately, right, similar to as the scriptures say, the Lord knoweth how to reserve the ungodly, right, to be punished. That's what's going to happen, right, to the sons of Belial or the ungodly. They're going to be burned with fire, and quite literally in the last days, that's going to be their case because that's going to be their lot, right? If that was their lot back then, and that's the spirit the Lord put on them, guess what? Guess where they're going to end up in these times when the actual fire is going to be kindled? Well, they're going to end up right in it. So in the NLT, it says, one must use iron tools to chop them down. They will be totally consumed by fire. This is referring to the ungodly or the sons of Belial, which are likened unto thorns. Verse 8, and now this goes into the mighty men of David. Now, when you look it up, they sort of have 2 Samuel right around like from chapters 21 to about 24 as kind of like the epilogue, right, of the book of Samuel. So like as we'll read here, when you go into the last chapter, the 24th chapter, it's not all necessarily in chronological order because it's more so ordered by theme, you know, and not so much chronology, but it still gives you information as to what happened during the time or the reign of David. So 2 Samuel 23 and 8, these be the names of the mighty men whom David had. The Tachmonite that sat in the seat, chief among the captains. The same was Adino, the Eznite. He lift up his spear against 800, whom he slew at one time. So he was basically the top of David's army, right? Adino or Adino. And this is describing, well, as we're going to go through, this is describing the feats, right, or the great accomplishments that they did. Now, slaying 800 people in at one time, that's like some action movie joint. Like that's like a blockbuster movie. Freaking Thor himself would probably have difficulty doing that, right? But um, that goes to show why he was the top of David's army, of his mighty men. And as we keep on reading, right, the way it's broken up is you basically have the top three, the mightiest of David's mighty men, and then you have another top three under them, and then you have the 30, which might not be just actually 30 people, or it might, but it's like these were those when you go into like the ranking of like the top, that's sort of like how it went. So it describes the first top three, then the next top three, and then the 30. So here we have here Adino, the first, verse 9, and after him was Eleazar, the son of Dodo, the Ahohite, one of the three mighty men with David. They defied the Philistines that were gathered together to battle, and the men of Israel were gone away. So when the Philistines came to battle and Israel fled, Eleazar basically stayed. He arose and smote the Philistines until his hand was weary, and his hand clave onto his sword. So he basically fought and like it says, he smote the Philistines so much to the point where his hand was like stuck, like it was cleaving to his sword. That's how much slaying he was doing. And the Lord wrought a great victory that day, and the people returned after him only to spoil. So when they, after the Lord used him to basically slay those Philistines, all that was left was a spoil. And this is these scenes as we read them, it's like those scenes you see from them anime shows, right? Where you'll have like, you know, some of these characters doing these extraordinary things. So they weren't called mighty men for no reason. And like think about it, right? When if you do any form of martial arts or fighting or even sports, you see how tiring it is, right? But I use fighting as an example because when you look at boxing, you'll say, "Oh, these men are dangerous," right? Even UFC, but it's exhausting, right? The rounds don't last like 20 minutes a round. It's like what, 3 minutes, one, give or take. If I got that right, if I'm wrong, that's okay. But they're not super long rounds. There are a lot of rounds, but they're not super long rounds. And they're going one on one, right? Fighter versus fighter. And yet you see how tired they are, and they got to drink the water and they're sweating and so on and so forth. And that's 1v1. Now imagine having armor on top of you, holding a sword or a spear, which is heavy, holding a shield, if anything, which is also heavy, and then actually fighting against armies. You're not going one on one throwing punches with gloves. You're swinging a sword. Okay. You're having to watch your around you. It's not just one person. You got to watch it left. You got to watch it right. You got to watch behind you. There's sounds, there's screams, there's shouting. And he slew 800 men. Right here you have Eleazar, which slew these Philistines when everybody else fled. So that's why these were such mighty acts. This wasn't something that you do on your regular. Verse 12, but he stood in the midst of the ground and defended it. Oh, wait, hold up. Nope. Verse 11, and after him was Shammah, the son of Agi, the Hararite. And the Philistines were gathered together into a troop, where was a piece of ground full of lentils, and the people fled from the Philistines. And I'll read this as well in the NLT, because when it says a piece of ground full of lentils, I'll just read it here. It says, next in rank was Shammah, the son of Agi, from Harar. One time the Philistines gathered at Lehi and attacked the Israelites in a field full of lentils. So when it says that, it's not like there was just a small like hole in the ground and you just had lentils in there, but like a field. So the people ran away, but he stood in the midst of the ground. So he stood his ground and defended it and slew the Philistines. And the Lord Yahweh wrought a great victory. So I mentioned that because you see, this is like those movie creators, those anime creators, they get content from these ancient texts, right? Because like this is those scenes you'll see, there's like a group of bad guys pull up, everybody else runs away. They're like, yo, what is he doing? They scream into the main character like, run, run, run. These guys are bad news. You gotta go. And he's just there and he stands there and everybody else runs away, and then he whips all of them, right? With ease. And then they come back like, oh my gosh, what? Their jaws are dropping. Anyway, verse 13. And 3 of the 30 chief went down and came to David in the harvest time onto the cave of Adullam. So these 3 we just read, the first top 3, right? Who was the first one? Adino, and then Eleazar and Shammah. So these were the top 3. And these 3 went down, as it says, and came to David in the time of harvest onto the cave of Adullam. And the troop of the Philistines pitched in the valley of Rephaim. And David then in an hold. So at this point, this is when David was, he was in a stronghold at this point, and the Philistines had taken some of the cities of Israel. And as it says, and the garrison of the Philistines was then in Bethlehem. So they had set up a station, troops or a garrison in Bethlehem, the Philistines, that is. And David longed and said, oh, that one would give me drink of the water of the well of Bethlehem, which is by the gate. So David desired to get water from Bethlehem. And the 3 mighty men break through the host of the Philistines and drew water out of the well of Bethlehem that was by the gate, and took it and brought it to David. So they weren't no joke. These were not meant to be played with. Okay? When these men came through, shit. Like a whole garrison of the Philistines, they basically just broke through them, left and right, to the point where, to draw water for David. And then they brought it to David. Nevertheless, he would not drink thereof, but poured it out onto the Lord. Now you see why it mentions, the land being quiet before him, because the Lord had blessed him and his men, right, with great might, to be able to conquer, with such vehemency. Verse 17, and he said, be it far from me, O Lord Yahweh, that I should do this thing. Is not this the blood of the men that went in jeopardy of their lives? Therefore he would not drink it, meaning the water. So he's saying, like, how can I drink this water? Here it is. I'm not the only one who's thirsty, but these men risked their lives to get me this water. I can't just drink that. So as it says, therefore he would not drink it. These things did these 3 mighty men. So these were, once again, highlighting the feats of David's mighty men. And Abishai, the brother of Joab, the son of Zeruiah, was chief among 3. So this was the next 3 under the first top 3. And he lifted up his spear against 300 and slew them, and had the name among 3. So there you go. That was another feat by Abishai, because he was also skilled, right? And as it says here, he basically killed 300 people, right, at once, as it says, and had a name among the 3. So he earned his spot in the that next 3. Where we at? Was he not most honorable of 3? Therefore he was their captain. So of that 3, that group of 3 that he was a part of, he was basically the top, of them, the captain of that. Howbeit he attained not onto the first 3. So he was mighty, but he still wasn't, he wasn't up there with the original top three, or the first top three. And Benaiah, the son of Jehoiada, the son of a valiant man of Kabzeel, who had done many acts, he slew 2 lion-like men of Moab, lion-like meaning they were fierce. He went down also and slew a lion in the midst of a pit in time of snow. Now, it's they don't give more details on the scenario, right? To like what caused that, like in terms of like the lion. But long story short, in this case, he encountered a lion, which he ended up slaying during the wintertime. And he slew an Egyptian, a goodly man. Now, once again, these aren't ordinary things. You don't go around, slaying lions, right? That the 2 lion-like men of Moab, that's a 2-on-1. Okay, that's a 2v1. He slew an Egyptian, a goodly man, and the Egyptian had a spear in his hand, but he went down to him with a staff. And when you go into that word staff, it goes into like a branch or a club. So that's all Benaiah had. And he basically goes, the Egyptian armed with a spear, and as it says, and he plucked the spear out of the Egyptian's hand and slew him with his own spear. So using the staff that he was so skillful, he basically disarmed the Egyptian and then used the Egyptian spear to basically slay him. These things did Benaiah, the son of Jehoiada, and had the name among 3 mighty men. So he was among the that next 3. As it says, he was more honorable than the 30, but he attained not to the first 3. And David set him over his guard. So you had the top 3, then you had the next 3, which in which you had Benaiah, Abishai, and obviously somebody else, which were more honorable above the 30. The 30 were also, honorable, but these were like the top among them. Asahel, the brother of Joab, was one of the 30. Elhanan, the son of Dodo of Bethlehem, Shammah the Harodite, Elikah the Harodite, Helez the Paltite, Ira the son of Ikesh the Tekoite, Abiezr and the Anathothite, Mebunai the Hushathite, Zalmon the Ahohite, Maharai the Netophathite, Heleb the son of Baanah, a Netophathite, Ittai the son of Ribai out of Gibeah of the children of Benjamin, Benaiah the Pirathonite, Hidai of the brooks of Gash, Abialbon the Arbathite, Asmaveth the Borhamite, Eliabah the Shaalbanite of the sons of Jashan, Jonathan, Shammah the Hararite, Ahiam the son of Shara the Hararite, Eliphalet the son of Ahasbai, the son of the Maachathite, Eliam the son of Ahithophel the Gileonite, Hezrai the Carmelite, Paarai the Arbite, Igal the son of Nathan of Zobah, Banai the Gadite, Zelek the Ammonite, Naharai the Beerothite, armor-bearer to Joab the son of Zeruiah, Ira an Ithrite, Gareb an Ithrite, Uriah the Hittite, 37 in all. And these were the mighty men of David. And that brings us to the end of 2 Samuel, the 23rd chapter. Lord willing, this was edifying to the elect. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Racha Kodash. And until next time, Shalom.